OpenAI didn't just release a new model this week, they released 3, and most people treated it like a product announcement. It wasn't. It was a map of exactly how AI companies see the future of human work. And once you see what's actually inside it, you cannot unsee it. Let's talk about what just happened. On June 26th, OpenAI previewed GPT 5.6, but instead of one flagship model, they shipped 3 distinct versions: Sol, Terra, Luna, each one designed for a completely different type of problem. Sol is the heavy hitter, built for the hardest, most complex work imaginable. It scored 91.9% on Terminal Bench 2.1. That is the new state of the art for agentic engineering, ahead of every other model on the planet right now. Terra sits in the middle, balanced, capable, built for everyday professional work. The model most people will actually interact with daily. Luna is the fast, affordable tier, high volume, low cost, built for repetitive tasks done at scale. And even Luna scored higher than most flagship models from last year. Here is what that structure is actually telling us. It is not just about model tiers, it is about work tiers. OpenAI has essentially built a mirror of the job market, and they built it in 3 layers for a reason. Think about the last decade of work. Routine jobs automated first, data entry, basic customer service, simple reporting. Then mid-level work started shifting, copywriting, basic legal drafts, entry-level financial analysis. What happened this week is different, because for the first time, the top tier of complex work is now being mapped too. Sol hitting 50.9% task completion on agents last exam is significant. That benchmark tests tasks that were previously considered too hard for any AI, frontier territory, expert-level problem solving, and a model just crossed 50% for the first time in history. That is not just a benchmark number. That is a line being crossed. Hold that thought for a second, because here is where this gets personally relevant to you. The job market is splitting into 2 distinct groups right now, not based on industry, not based on education level, based on one thing only: whether you direct AI or whether AI replaces you. Group 1 is the people who understand how to give AI the right instructions. They decide what gets built. They understand which problems are worth solving. They verify quality. They bring judgment, context, and creativity to the table. These people become more valuable as models improve. Every new GPT release makes their work easier and more leveraged. Group 2 is the people doing work that AI can now replicate: summarizing documents, formatting reports, writing first drafts without a unique perspective, answering the same customer questions repeatedly, producing content without strategy behind it. These people face direct competition from tools that cost a fraction of their salary. This split is not new, but it just accelerated sharply. Because Luna, the cheapest, fastest tier, is now better than GPT 5.5 was 6 months ago. The floor of AI capability just rose dramatically, and it happened in a single week. If you are finding this useful, consider subscribing for more practical AI insights every week. Now, here is the part that matters most. Most people think this is a technology story. It is not. This is a skills story. The people moving into Group 1 are not necessarily more intelligent. They are not necessarily more educated. They are not working harder. They simply made one shift in how they think about their work. They stopped asking, how do I do this task faster? They started asking, how do I design a system where AI does this task for me? That is the entire difference. Let me give you a real example. A marketing coordinator spending 4 hours writing weekly campaign reports is in a vulnerable spot. Luna can do that in minutes with the right setup. But the person who builds the system that feeds campaign data into Luna, reviews the output, adds strategic context, and presents recommendations to leadership, that person just became indispensable. Same industry, same basic knowledge, completely different relationship with AI. One was replaced, one got a promotion. Now think about your own work this week. What did you spend the most time on? Writing, formatting, responding to the same questions, piling information from multiple sources, scheduling, following up. Every single one of those tasks lives in Luna territory now, fast, cheap, and increasingly accurate, but the judgment behind those tasks, the strategy, the relationships, the accountability, that still requires a human. For now, here is the timeline most people are not tracking. 12 months ago, GPT-5 arrived. It disrupted entry-level creative and analytical work. 6 months ago, Claude Mythos and its competitors raised the bar for research and coding. This week, GPT 5.6 Sol crossed 50% on tasks previously considered expert only. In 12 months, Sol will be at 70%, possibly more. The people who wait until that happens to change how they work will find the gap has already closed around them. The people who make the shift now have 12 months of runway. That is not a small advantage. That is career-defining timing. So what does making the shift actually look like? It does not require a computer science degree. It does not require quitting your job. It does not require learning to code. It requires three things. First, map your work honestly. Write down the 5 tasks that consume most of your week. For each one, ask, could an AI do a solid version of this with the right input? If the answer is yes, that task is Luna territory. You need to own the layer above it, not the task itself. Second, learn to write better instructions. This is called prompting, but forget that word. Think of it as briefing, the same way a good manager briefs a team member. Clear context, clear goal, clear quality standard. The person who briefs AI well consistently gets better results than the person who just types a question. That skill compounds over time. Third, reposition what you deliver. Stop delivering the task. Start delivering the judgment behind the task. A report is a task. Luna can produce a report. A recommendation backed by insight and accountability is judgment. That is still yours. This shift is not about working less. It is about working on the right layer. The people who figure this out in the next few months will look back at this week as the moment the signal became clear. The models are splitting. The work is splitting. The question is which side of that split you are building toward. You do not be an adopter. You need to be honest about where your work currently lives and intentional about where you want to position yourself next. The gap between Group 1 and Group 2 is not permanent, but it is widening, and the speed of that widening just increased. That is what the data is showing right now. What you do with that is up to you. Chapters, 0 o'clock hook, the signal, everyone missed, 0:45. What OpenAI actually released. This week, 2:15, the 3 tiers of work AI is creating 4:30. Which tier are you in right now? 6 o'clock, what to do before the gap gets wider. 8:15, final thoughts.